Welcome back. I bet you didn't know the chilling details of the most criminal serial killer. He seemed so normal, charming even, handsome with a disarming smile. But beneath the surface a darkness lurked, a monster hid in plain sight. His name was Ted Bundy, and this is the chilling tale of his reign of terror. A predator who preyed on innocents, leaving a trail of heartbreak and horror across America. This is the story of his descent into darkness. He was a chameleon, blending in, gaining trust. No one suspected the evil that resided within. He used his charm as a weapon, luring unsuspecting victims to their doom. Young women, their lives cut tragically short. They never saw him coming. This is the legacy of Ted Bundy, a chilling reminder that evil can wear many masks. Born Theodore Robert Cowell, his early life held no obvious hints of the monster he would become. Raised by his grandparents in a loving home, he appeared to be a normal child. He excelled in school, displaying intelligence and charisma. As a young man, he was popular, even charming. He volunteered at a suicide prevention hotline, projecting an image of compassion and empathy. All the while, a darkness brewed beneath the surface, a growing obsession with violence and control. The seeds of evil were sown. Soon, the charming facade would crumble, revealing the monster within. The first whispers of Ted Bundy's crimes were subtle, easily dismissed. In the beginning, it was just a few isolated incidents, barely a blip on the radar of law enforcement. A missing person here, a concerned family there. The connections were not immediately apparent, and the idea of a serial predator was far from anyone's mind. The early 1970s were a time of change and upheaval, and amidst the social turbulence, these disappearances were like whispers in a storm, easily lost in the noise. Disappearing women, last seen with a charming stranger. Friends and family would describe the last moments they saw their loved ones, often mentioning a handsome, well-dressed man who seemed trustworthy. This man, with his disarming smile and polite demeanor, was the last person seen with many of these women. They vanished without a trace, leaving behind only questions and heartache. The pattern was there, but it was faint, like a ghostly outline that only became clearer with time. But as the disappearances escalated, so did the suspicion. Law enforcement began to notice the troubling trend. Meetings were held, task forces were formed, and the search for answers intensified. Detectives pored over missing persons reports, trying to find any common thread that could lead them to the perpetrator. The community grew more anxious with each passing day, as the number of missing women continued to rise. The fear was palpable, and the pressure on the police to solve these cases was immense. His methods were chillingly calculated. Ted Bundy was no ordinary criminal. He was a master manipulator, a predator who meticulously planned his attacks. He would study his potential victims, learning their routines and habits. He knew when and where to strike, ensuring that he left as little evidence as possible. His ability to blend in, to appear as just another face in the crowd, made him all the more dangerous. He was a wolf in sheep's clothing, and his prey never saw him coming. He often preyed on young women, using his charm and fabricated injuries to gain their trust. Bundy would feign a broken arm or leg, asking for help with seemingly mundane tasks. His victims, kind-hearted and unsuspecting, would offer their assistance, not realizing the danger they were in. This ruse allowed him to get close to his targets, to lure them into a false sense of security before revealing his true intentions. It was a cruel and calculated tactic, one that he used to devastating effect. He would lure them to his car, a Volkswagen Beetle, where the real horror would begin. The small, unassuming vehicle became a mobile prison, a place where Bundy could carry out his heinous acts away from prying eyes. Once inside, his victims were trapped, their fates sealed. The Beetle, with its distinctive shape and color, would later become a key piece of evidence in linking Bundy to his crimes. But in those early days, it was just another car on the road, blending into the background. Close calls became more frequent. There were moments when Bundy's carefully laid plans almost unraveled. Women who managed to escape his clutches, their harrowing tales of near-death experiences began to surface. These survivors, though few, provided crucial insights into Bundy's methods and mindset. Their bravery in coming forward helped to paint a clearer picture of the monster lurking in the shadows. Each close call was a reminder of the thin line between life and death, and the relentless pursuit of justice. A young woman escaping his clutches, her story dismissed. In the chaos and confusion of the time, not every warning was heeded. Some survivors' accounts were met with skepticism, their fears brushed aside as paranoia. This dismissal only emboldened Bundy, allowing him to continue his reign of terror unchecked. The failure to act on these early warnings would later be seen as a tragic missed opportunity, a chance to stop a killer before he could claim more lives. A traffic stop that almost exposed his dark secret. There were moments when Bundy's luck nearly ran out. Routine police stops, where a sharp-eyed officer might have noticed something amiss, came tantalizingly close to uncovering the truth. But Bundy's charm and quick thinking often saved him, allowing him to slip through the cracks of the justice system. These close encounters with law enforcement were a testament to his cunning, but also a stark reminder of how close he came to being caught. But Bundy was cunning, evading capture time and time again. His ability to adapt and improvise in the face of danger was remarkable. He knew how to play the system, to exploit its weaknesses to his advantage. Each escape only made him more confident, more brazen in his actions. The authorities were always one step behind, struggling to keep up with a predator who seemed to be always just out of reach. It was a deadly game of cat and mouse with lives hanging in the balance. The monster was growing bolder, his reign of terror far from over. As the body count rose, so did Bundy's audacity. He began to take greater risks, targeting women in more public places, confident in his ability to evade capture. The fear in the community was palpable, as the realization set in that a serial killer was among them. The police were under immense pressure to catch him, but Bundy seemed always to be one step ahead. His boldness was both his strength and his eventual downfall. Many of his victims were young women, often last seen at social events or leaving gatherings alone. These were places where people felt safe, surrounded by friends and familiar faces. Bundy exploited this sense of security, using it to his advantage. He would blend into the crowd, watching and waiting for the right moment to strike. His ability to appear harmless, even friendly, made him all the more dangerous. The women he targeted never suspected that the charming stranger was a predator in disguise. Some were students, caught off guard while studying or walking to their cars. College campuses, places of learning and growth, became hunting grounds for Bundy. He would stalk his victims, waiting for a moment when they were alone and vulnerable. The sense of safety that these young women felt was shattered in an instant, as they were confronted by a man who seemed to come out of nowhere. The fear and confusion in those moments were unimaginable as they realized too late the danger they were in. Others were hitchhikers, trusting a seemingly kind stranger for a ride. In the 1970s, hitchhiking was a common practice, a way for people to travel cheaply and meet new people. Bundy took advantage of this, offering rides to women who were often far from home and in need of help. His friendly demeanor and clean-cut appearance made him seem trustworthy, a safe choice for a ride. But once they were in his car, the facade dropped, and the true horror began. These women, isolated and alone, had no way of knowing the danger they were in until it was too late. Their stories, though varied, shared a common thread of trust betrayed and terror endured. Each victim's experience was unique, but the underlying theme was the same: a predator who exploited their trust and kindness for his own twisted purposes. The fear and trauma they endured were unimaginable, leaving scars that would last a lifetime. These stories, when pieced together, painted a chilling picture of a man who was capable of unimaginable cruelty. The legacy of Bundy's crimes is a stark reminder of the darkness that can lurk behind a friendly face. January 15, 1978, Tallahassee, Florida. A date etched in infamy. The Chi Omega sorority house, a place of sisterhood and laughter, became the stage for Bundy's most brazen attack yet. In a brutal frenzy, Bundy attacked 4 young women, leaving a scene of unimaginable horror. 2 of them, Margaret Bowman and Lisa Levy, lost their lives that night. Margaret Bowman, a dedicated student and beloved friend, and Lisa Levy, known for her kindness and vibrant spirit, were taken too soon. The brutality of the attacks shocked the nation. The manhunt intensified, fueled by fear and outrage. Law enforcement nationwide were on high alert. Kathy Kleiner and Karen Chandler, though severely injured, survived the attack and would later provide crucial testimony. They knew they were dealing with a monster, but could they stop him before he struck again? A trail of terror. Bundy's spree continues. Despite the manhunt, Bundy remained elusive. He fled Florida, leaving a trail of terror in his wake. Colorado, Utah, Idaho. His spree of violence knew no bounds. He continued to prey on young women, his methods becoming more brazen, more desperate. Each attack brought a fresh wave of fear and uncertainty. The nation was captivated, horrified by this seemingly unstoppable monster in their midst. But the net was closing in. With each passing day, the pressure mounted, and Bundy's carefully constructed facade began to crumble. The victims, mostly young women, were often students with bright futures ahead. Their lives were tragically cut short, leaving families and communities in mourning. Section 6. Behind bars, yet far from finished, Bundy's daring escapes. Ted Bundy, one of the most notorious serial killers in American history, was known not only for his heinous crimes, but also for his audacious escapes from custody. His ability to evade the law became a chilling testament to his cunning and manipulative nature. In 1975, Bundy was finally apprehended in Utah. His arrest marked a significant victory for law enforcement, who had been tirelessly hunting him down. The capture brought a sense of relief to the public, who had been living in fear of the elusive predator. However, this relief was short-lived, but his capture was only the beginning of a bizarre and terrifying chapter. Bundy, ever the master manipulator, was not content to remain behind bars. He saw incarceration as merely another challenge to overcome, another game to play. His mind was constantly at work, devising plans to regain his freedom. Twice he managed to escape from custody, using cunning and manipulation to slip through the fingers of the law. His first escape was nothing short of a Houdini act, showcasing his ability to exploit weaknesses in the system. The audacity and precision of his escapes left both law enforcement and the public in shock. His first escape from a Colorado courthouse saw him on the run for 6 days, a fugitive once more. During this time, Bundy managed to blend into society, using his charm and intelligence to avoid detection. He even managed to steal a car, further aiding his flight from justice. The manhunt that ensued was intense, with law enforcement agencies working around the clock to recapture him. His second escape from a Colorado jail was even more audacious, involving meticulous planning and a daring escape through a crawl space. Bundy had spent months studying the jail's layout, identifying weaknesses, and crafting his plan. He lost a significant amount of weight to fit through the small opening, demonstrating his determination and resourcefulness. This escape was a testament to his relentless pursuit of freedom no matter the cost. These escapes only solidified his image as a cunning and dangerous predator. The media coverage of his escapes was extensive, with news outlets broadcasting updates around the clock. The public was both horrified and fascinated by Bundy's ability to outsmart the authorities. His escapes became a part of his dark legend, adding to the fear and intrigue that surrounded him. The nation watched in disbelief as Bundy, a master manipulator, seemed to defy justice at every turn. His ability to charm and deceive those around him was unparalleled. Even in captivity, he managed to manipulate those who were supposed to be guarding him. His escapes were not just physical acts, but psychological games that he played with the entire nation. During his time on the run, Bundy claimed more victims, leaving a trail of heartbreak and devastation. His escapes were not just a testament to his cunning, but also a grim reminder of the lives he destroyed. Each escape brought new victims, new families torn apart by his actions. The pain and suffering he caused were immeasurable, and his ability to evade capture only prolonged the agony for those who had lost loved ones. Bundy's daring escapes are a chilling reminder of the darkness that can reside within the human soul, and the relentless pursuit of justice that is required to combat it. Justice, at last capture, and the road to trial. Bundy's freedom was short-lived. In February 1978, he was recaptured in Florida, his reign of terror finally at an end. The nation breathed a collective sigh of relief. The evidence against him was overwhelming. Eyewitness accounts, physical evidence, and even Bundy's own words painted a grim picture of guilt. The trial that followed would be one of the most sensational and closely watched in history. The world held its breath, waiting for justice to be served. The Price of Evil: Bundy's Trial and Confessions. The trial of Ted Bundy was a media spectacle, broadcast nationwide. The public was captivated by the gruesome details of his crimes and the audacity of his behavior. News outlets provided constant updates, and people across the country were glued to their screens, eager to see the outcome of this high-profile case. The trial was not just a legal proceeding, it was a cultural phenomenon that highlighted the darkest aspects of human nature. He relished the attention, representing himself in court with a narcissistic flair. Bundy, a former law student, believed he could outsmart the legal system and charm the jury. His confidence was palpable as he cross-examined witnesses and presented his arguments. However, his arrogance was also his downfall, as it became clear that he was more interested in showcasing his perceived intelligence than in mounting a credible defense. Despite his attempts to deflect blame and manipulate the proceedings, the truth was undeniable. The prosecution meticulously laid out the evidence piece by piece, painting a damning picture of Bundy's guilt. The courtroom was often tense, with dramatic moments that seemed straight out of a movie. The judge's gavel would frequently punctuate the proceedings, a stark reminder of the gravity of the situation. The evidence against him was insurmountable. Forensic experts presented detailed analyses, and crime scene photos left little to the imagination. Each piece of evidence was a nail in the coffin of Bundy's defense. The jury was shown the brutal reality of his actions, and there was no escaping the conclusion that Bundy was a cold-blooded killer. The sheer volume and consistency of the evidence made it impossible for any reasonable doubt to exist. In 1979, he was found guilty of multiple counts of murder and sentenced to death. The courtroom erupted in a mix of relief and sorrow. For the families of the victims, it was a moment of justice, but also a reminder of the loved ones they had lost. Bundy, however, remained stoic, his expression betraying no hint of remorse. The judge's pronouncement was clear and final, marking the end of one of the most infamous trials in American history. Key moments included the testimonies of witnesses who recounted harrowing encounters with Bundy, painting a vivid picture of his brutality. These testimonies were crucial in establishing the pattern of Bundy's behavior and the sheer terror he inflicted on his victims. The witnesses' courage in facing Bundy and recounting their experiences was a testament to their strength and resilience. Their stories added a personal dimension to the trial, making the horror of Bundy's actions all the more real. In the years that followed, Bundy finally began to confess to the full extent of his crimes, revealing chilling details that shocked even the most seasoned investigators. His confessions were not just admissions of guilt, they were windows into a mind twisted by a desire for power and control. Bundy described his methods and motivations with a disturbing detachment, providing insights that were as horrifying as they were enlightening. These confessions helped law enforcement understand the true scope of his crimes and brought some measure of closure to the families of his victims. His confessions provided a glimpse into the mind of a monster, revealing a depravity that defied comprehension. Bundy's ability to articulate his thoughts and actions with such clarity made his crimes even more chilling. He spoke of his victims as objects devoid of humanity, and his lack of empathy was evident in every word. These confessions were not just about the crimes he committed, but about the darkness that resided within him, a darkness that seemed to have no bounds. The stories of his victims, young women with bright futures, were brought to light, adding a poignant and tragic dimension to the trial. Each victim had a story, a life full of potential that was brutally cut short. The trial served as a platform to honor their memories and to remind the world of the human cost of Bundy's actions. Memorials and tributes were held, and the families of the victims found some solace in the fact that their loved ones were not forgotten. Their families' emotional testimonies and the presentation of personal belongings as evidence underscored the human cost of Bundy's horrific actions. These moments were some of the most heart-wrenching of the trial, as parents, siblings, and friends spoke of their loss and the void left by Bundy's crimes. Personal items such as jewelry and photographs were presented as evidence, serving as tangible reminders of the lives that were taken. The emotional weight of these testimonies was palpable, and there was not a dry eye in the courtroom. The final verdict was delivered with a sense of justice, but Bundy showed no remorse, his cold demeanor a stark contrast to the emotional weight of the trial. As the judge read the sentence, the courtroom was silent, the gravity of the moment sinking in. Bundy's lack of reaction was a chilling reminder of his complete detachment from the suffering he had caused. For the families of the victims, the verdict was a step towards healing, but the scars left by Bundy's actions would never fully fade. Legacy of Fear: The Enduring Shadow of Ted Bundy. On January 24, 1989, Ted Bundy was executed in Florida's electric chair. His death brought a sense of closure, but the scars of his crimes run deep. Ted Bundy's case changed the way we view evil. He shattered the illusion that monsters lurk in shadows, proving that they can hide in plain sight, concealed by charm and normalcy. His legacy is a chilling reminder of the darkness that can reside within seemingly ordinary individuals. The victims and their families will forever bear the scars of his crimes, their stories a testament to the enduring impact of evil. Even in death, Ted Bundy continues to cast a long shadow, a chilling reminder of the fragility of innocence and the enduring power of fear. If you found this video insightful, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon for more chilling tales.